Uh,
All right.
oh,
How's everybody doing?
all right.
All right.
Yeah, how you guys doing?
Fantastic. Fantastic, man.
Good to hear. Good to hear. First let's welcome our guests, our viewers, folks that make this all worth it. Thank you guys for joining us again. This is episode 12 of the Update Log. As usual, with me are Matt and Greg, my two co-hosts, and today, well, before we start into that, how you guys doing? How's the audience doing? How's y'all's Wednesday been going?
It's Gemma.
Hey, Gemma. How's your Wednesday been going?
I'll tell you how my Wednesday's been going.
Let's hear, Greg.
we tend to work as the devil. Hey, all right. Gemma just said it all. I don't even need to say anything.
I feel that.
That about sums it up. Yeah.
We tend to forget that there's a 17 or 19 second delay between what we say and when it actually shows on the screen. So
yeah,
forgive
we gotta
us.
get better at doing that. Not doing that, but
I don't know if the delay's that long. I think it's only a couple seconds.
It's considerable.
At least on my end, it's not that long. I guess I don't know exactly how long it is on everyone else's.
Seconds. Yes, it is. All right.
Excuse me while I choke to death.
Happens to the best of us.
I never.
But yeah.
Never.
Said that with a straight face. I respect it. That's confidence born of age. For experimental reasons.
That's good to know. Wow.
But
okay.
Yeah, welcome to episode 12 of the Update Log. Today we're going over the topic of how to get into the industry primarily, but also how to, for those who are already in industry, what it looks like post-pandemic. I know it doesn't sound super interesting, but it's a really important topic to discuss, primarily for those who are trying to break into the industry and those who are still in. The pandemic, whatever your stance on what happened the last 2 or 3 years, pandemic was a pretty big deal. First one the world's had since I believe like early 1900s.
Yep.
Not Spanish flu. I think it was Spanish flu actually. Anyway, it's the first one in a while, so I guess we were overdue for one. Who knows? And it hit a lot of industries pretty rough and differently. Namely the gaming industry in multiple different instances. I mean, you had an explosion of interest in various forms of gaming, whether it be tabletop RPGs, as we all have illustrated in a number of episodes. It's been a big boom. The pandemic definitely helped, and everything from video games as well. So a huge surge. Excuse me, over the last two years. It's like the first two years of the. Yeah, Gemma. Oof. The graphics cards became. People would sell their grandmothers for some for graphics cards, especially if they were trying the whole mining thing.
Yeah, crypto also had a big influence on graphics cards because crypto miners were buying those up like crazy.
Yeah, they're buying them like hotcakes.
I think only recently the prices have started kind of going a
little
bit. Yeah, a little bit more to regular.
Yeah. Well,
I think they're still on the more expensive side, though.
Not to get too off topic, but to go hand in hand with that particular statement of video cards going kind of being ripped off the shelves like they were, perishable foods. Yeah, it's only now that we're starting to see those prices start to drop and kind of normalize. But we also did see a lot of really loved and beloved companies go out of business in that area of gaming. I mean, EVGA couldn't keep the doors open for multiple reasons, the pandemic being one of them. But again, not to get too off topic, we're here to discuss how to break into the industry post-pandemic and how to navigate the industry post-pandemic. It is your job to distract. It's what you do. This is true. Yeah. She doesn't get anything done. She's just busy creating chaos for everybody else. I guess the first point I would like to bring up and I want us to discuss is basically one of this is something I personally hate, and I know a lot of people do. Networking. Getting out there, putting yourself out there, putting your face out there, wheeling and dealing, shaking hands, remembering people's names.
That's the hard part.
that is the hard part for many reasons, for many people, for many reasons. But I am not a fan. I am an introvert for sure. I don't like large crowds, but to say that networking is not a vital tool and an extremely important tool and way to not only network in terms of getting into the industry and making yourself a known entity, but also making friends within the industry and potentially making mentors and just touching base with people and really immersing yourself into kind of that flow of things, because the industry definitely has a road to I guess to use the term, a road all its own. And if you're going to be successful in it, you got to understand it. And two of the primary points of that aspect that I want to go over, and I guess we'll all go over, are LinkedIn, and one that was surprising but not at the same time was Discord. Kind of my research was geared towards the research I did kind of brought those to the surface. Discord was a surprising one, in that it's not an atypical resource that is used for networking. At least not what you would expect. But when you dig deep into it, Discord is a community builder. Not only is it a voice application that replaced things, for those of you who remember, things like TeamSpeak, LeetSpeak, Ventrilo. There we go. That's another one. I think LeetSpeak was actually one too, but LeetSpeak has multiple meanings. If you know. But Ventrilo, TeamSpeak, all those things, were the OGs, and then Discord came along and filled that niche, even though I do know people who still use Ventrilo.
What?
Surprisingly enough, I still know people who do. But also it filled another niche, and a key one was community building, because you have Discord servers. And there are a bunch of various Discord servers for folks from multiple creative backgrounds. I mean, you have Unreal Engine has an unofficial one, Blender has one, and then various communities, especially for those of you who don't know, colleges have even begun to use Discord and have created co-communities around that. Matt can talk more about that actually, because he's in one. But let's start that discussion. Matt, we'll start off with you, man.
Yeah. So it's convenient that you kind of bring up both Discord and LinkedIn, because in the course of my education at Full Sail, I've utilized both of those platforms. Given I admit that I should probably be a little more active on my LinkedIn and kind of work on that more. But my school regularly uses Discord. That's actually how they kind of and now use a lot of send out a lot of announcements to us students, and also how we can like try to get help, because a big thing of what we do is whenever someone needs help with something, because obviously in game design and coding and all that stuff, you're going to run into situations where you can't quite figure something out and you need some help. So it's very common practice on our Discord to be like, put out a ping to the correct like role. Obviously not use the @everyone for a huge server. Use the correct pings. They'd be like, hey guys, I'm having a little trouble with this. Anyone got any suggestions? And and a lot of times other students or an instructor will answer that question. And it's a good system of helping people get help. And yeah, it's interesting to see a school utilize Discord so effectively, because I actually used to go to another college that I ended up actually dropping out of. It just, the way they taught just didn't mesh well with me. Wasn't going well, and they didn't utilize anything like that at all. The communication was far less communicative than what I'm going through now, and so it's made a huge difference in how as an online student, because I'm doing online instead of like on campus, that easy access to communication goes, because it's a lot easier on Discord to message a one of my professors than it is to try to email them. Now,
or go to office hours.
Oh yeah, or office hours, which again, as an online student, it's hard to kind of set that up for like, I don't know, like a Zoom call or anything like that. But
email? You sound kind of old, man.
I mean, we do utilize the emails some, but honestly, most of our online communication is done through Discord. And like Discord, it's honestly just a easy, good service for that, and it's even useful for networking as well. Because like, I mean, now granted, Discord is overall more of a casual environment than say LinkedIn. LinkedIn is definitely something you want to keep more professional, while if you're part of a Discord community with others of your profession, you can kind of be a little more casual there. But there are lots of communities you can go to. Like Rob was saying, there's Unreal community, a community for pretty much anything that you can go into, meet people, kind of get some help or help them when they have questions. And it's and getting to know people is a big thing in pretty much any industry, because especially if you're trying to break in, like even me as a student, my fellow classmates, that anytime I do a group project, that's some networking right there. I'm working along with people who will eventually become colleagues in the same industry. I get to see what they're good at, they get to see what I'm good at, and that's possibilities for future partnerships.
So far we've been talking about all the surface things when it comes to networking. And I think it's safe to say that we all realize and know this, that building those connections is important, and it really is very important. It's not as monumental of a task as what we tend to look at it as being. Most people think about networking and I automatically go to, I'm very introverted. I don't. You're looking at three introverts right here. So and what are we doing? We're live to God and everybody to talk about what we know, what we think we know, and just share ideas about the gaming industry, which we're a part of. We have our own studio developing game content. And we're out there building these relationships. The importance of the networking piece is really just building those relationships. If you can build a network or a community around you, and by community, that's as simply as just people who know you, people who know, respect you, enjoy spending time with you, talking to you, those type of things. Discord's a fantastic tool for doing that. Discord is a little more of a casual tool, not necessarily the professional place, but that's not saying that you can't build a reasonable community in Discord. You can. For the purposes that we're talking about today, which is really career-based, for your game developers, your programmers, your coders, your content creators, your graphics artists, all these folks that right now are being impacted, well, very negatively. The post-pandemic world has been really, really hard on the games industry, the media sector, period. And that's been hold on one second. Okay. That's been a horrible experience for everybody to go through, just simply because you've got a lot of people that have been displaced without really knowing why they're displaced. LinkedIn.
No, sorry, go ahead, Greg.
Well,
go ahead.
LinkedIn, on the other hand, is that professional platform. Here's the thing with LinkedIn. If you go out there and you are consistent with your content, so you're putting content out there, not like Facebook style content. That's not what the people there are looking for. They don't want to know what you ate for dinner last night, or what your new puppy looks like. That's not necessarily what they want to know. I'm not saying don't share some of that stuff, but just don't make that all you share, because people are not going to pay attention to you. Share the real you. What is your passion? And if you're in this industry and you're not passionate about this industry, I'm gonna be the heartless jerk here and say, get out of it, because it's not for you.
Yeah, you're in the wrong spot.
You got to be passionate about it, whatever it is that you're doing. That's the heartfelt piece to it, is make sure that you enjoy what you're doing. There is no point in doing stuff with your life or in your life that you don't enjoy doing. Not every day is going to be a bed of roses, for sure, but the majority of them can be. Yeah. Right. I agree with what you're saying there, Gemma. The couple things about LinkedIn. The algorithm there is really designed to the point where if you have less than 500 followers, you're probably not going to get a lot of play. Okay?
Yeah. Algorithm is good.
Well, but here's the thing. Because of how it is designed and set up, go be active on the server. And you don't necessarily have to post a bunch of stuff all the time. There's all kinds of gurus out there that'll tell you, oh, you need to post every day. You need to post 3 times a day. You don't need to do that. You do need to be active, post content that you're passionate about, but even more importantly is to go engage with other people. Look around at things you're interested in. Look at the people who are also interested in or part of those industries. Take a look at their wall. See the things they're posting. See what you agree with. If you agree with something, you like something, put a like on there. Make a comment. Tell them, hey, this is really great. I really appreciate it. That's
See
networking.
where both of you guys can connect. Yeah.
We're on an ad break right this minute, so
Wow.
So for our subs, obviously, we can keep going. We'll save a little bit of content here for the people who are not sub. But so yeah, the LinkedIn piece, it's a very powerful tool, because most of your recruiters, HR people that are out there, especially for the larger companies, are hitting that fairly regularly. and looking not only for what you have on your resume, but they're looking for, what kind of person is this? What kind of content are they sharing? What are they actually out there doing? So don't share nonsense. Share valued content, the things that are, that reflect who you are, or who you want to be. Make sure you put some thought into it. It's not as difficult as it seems, and you don't overthink it. Don't think that you got to be don't think you got to be out there posting every day, because you don't. That is nonsense. Can you grow a network faster by doing that? Sure, you can. But just stay focused.
Also burn out faster doing that too.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. Stay focused in the area that's important to you, and look for people that are like-minded, and interact with them. Interact through their posts. Interact through, ask them questions. If they're talking about a topic that you're particularly interested in, or if you happen to connect with somebody that is already in the industry, or maybe even the position that you would like to be in, talk to them. Just reach out to them, tell them who you are, introduce yourself to them, and explain it. Hey, this is I'm John Doe. I see you're a game developer. You work for whatever company. I'm looking to get into this. Maybe just getting out of school, or maybe I'm a veteran who's been displaced, just looking for a new home. What can you tell me? Is the company you work for a good company? How did you get in the position you're in? Start a conversation with them.
Yeah, that's where that connection piece kind of comes in, because it's not, contrary to popular belief, the world doesn't revolve around you. It's not about you. It's about what? Yeah, I know.
It
it's shocking,
doesn't?
right? No,
I don't believe you.
Hey, one side note to use. When Matt was talking about the Discord communication piece in the universities and stuff like that, we pretty much exclusively use Discord for our intercompany communication. And so far, we've used Discord for communicating with all of our clients, all of our potential vendors. I mean, we use Discord a lot.
Yeah, we do. Discord sponsorship. Anyway, yeah. I mean, it's not about you. It's about the value that you can bring to other people, and that goes for everybody, and it's better for you as an individual, especially whatever platform you're on, primarily LinkedIn, because that's what we're talking about. But LinkedIn, Discord, if you, first of all, again, like Greg said, you got to be passionate. You got to be kind of invested in this instance, the gaming industry and your part in it, but any industry. And to really connect with people, find things that you find interests that you share. Find things that you resonate with, that they may have brought up, or they may be doing, and that can be you're in. That can be, and when I say you're in, not it kind of sounds a little scummy, but or whatever. At least to my ears, it does. But it's not. When you find something that you resonate with, that you can connect with, and you resonate with someone, that's your chance as an individual, but also as a creative, to offer some feedback, some help, point of view. That's a golden opportunity to be like, hey, I like XYZ that you're working on. If you're willing to take some feedback, here's what I think. That starts a conversation that could lead to a job, to a partnership on a project. It could lead to a lot of things, and that could be a good jumping off point for your career. And it gets your name out there. It gets you known as someone, who can get things done. But also, and this is something I want to touch on, when it comes to posts, as Greg said, you got a lot of people out there who are saying you got to post every day, and 5 posts a day, and if you're not, you're behind, this, that, and the third. Remember that golden rule: quality over quantity. Because if you're posting just a bunch of shit just to post, people are gonna know, it's gonna show. it's honestly, it's gonna hurt your credibility, in my opinion. Um, Post meaningful shit. Put meaningful shit up on your page. Things that you believe in, that you're interested in potentially talking more about. Because that could pique interest for people who are coming across your page. Be like, oh, okay. I may not understand what this is, or it may be new to me, but this person clearly has an interest in it. They're passionate about it. Let's pick their brain. They seem knowledgeable. Um, and like I said earlier, posting all the time, being constantly inundated with social media, that's a quick way to burn out. You know, because you're constantly consuming, you're constantly taking in instead of putting out. Um, and sometimes you need to take a step back and let whatever it is you have absorbed, let whatever new game came across your feed, or new concept that came across your feed, soak. Let it lie, let it rest, let it ruminate, so you have something to talk about. But yeah, that's kind of the. I guess that is a good jumping off point, is networking, because that kind of leads into everything else. And one of the big things that it leads into feedback, the dreaded feedback. We all love it and we all hate it. We all for different reasons. But it's an important piece, and being able to do two, at least in my opinion, two critical things: give good quality feedback and take good quality feedback, will put you ahead of the game. And what I mean by quality feedback, again, my opinion, giving someone good feedback, quality feedback, is something that's actionable, meaning you've seen an issue, or something that can be improved upon. You've given them potential ways that they can improve upon it, but also you've highlighted the things they did right in relation to whatever it is. On the opposite side of that, being able to take good quality feedback is listening, not listening to, as they say, not listening to respond or react, but listening, really listening, paying attention to what the person's saying, the points that they're trying to make, and kind of internalizing them, like, okay, does this hold water? Does this hold weight in what they're trying to say, and the piece that they're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And-
what do you guys think?
I mean, yeah, yeah. Sorry, Moon Girl. Streamlabs, I guess, decided that 3 hands was probably
too much.
one too many.
One too many. Yeah.
I just turned the symbol protection off, so you should be.
Okay.
You can post as many hands as you would like now.
It's like, what? You can hold a Nintendo 64 controller correctly? That's not natural.
It's like, you're an unnatural thing. Jeez.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, feedback. That's super important for anyone. I mean, anyone really, but especially those working in the games industry, or pretty much anything that has a large interaction with with people. I guess. I mean, I guess when I put it like that, that's anything really. But
Yeah.
in the terms of like the game industry, I mean, your feedback is just about everything, and there's good feedback and bad feedback. Like, an example of bad feedback, like, say you put out a game and one person says your game is ass. Like, I'm not sure what to do with that, but if the person says, hey, there's a problem with your game, I think the progression system is a little too grindy. It took forever to get to like level 10, and it was just a real slog. That's something a little better.
That's something you can work
There
with.
you know what the issue is, as opposed to the person just saying game bad.
Mhm.
And that's something you can actually take and do something about. Try to find out like what in your systems is causing that issue. Is it like, do you just not offer enough like experience when you complete a quest, or whatever the root issue is? But the problem, and you can act
Hmm.
upon that.
Yeah,
And
it's an actionable piece that you can work
yeah,
with.
and the a big thing about feedback is learning how to gracefully take it. Because I think especially in the games industry where a game takes a long time to make, like you can spend years on something
Yep.
on a game,
Yeah. Yeah, you
and when
can.
you
Looking at you, Star Citizen.
yeah, and so like as someone who has spent years on this thing, when you see someone say this thing fucking sucks, it's hard not to take that personally.
Yeah.
Because again, that's years of your life that you put in, and this person is just shitting on it. But you gotta do your best to take a step back and be like, okay, this is a lesson to be learned for the next thing I do. It like this person, like if there are people saying this that there's something wrong with the game, then if enough people are saying there's something wrong with the game, then there most likely is. I mean, and again, a game is a very subjective medium, of course. Some people may
Mhm.
love the thing that others are complaining about, but um, you can't like the second you come out and like get defensive, and especially get defensive and respond on like social media to feedback like that. Ooh, people are gonna
Yeah.
pounce on you.
Yeah. It's not a good look.
Yeah,
It's not a good look, and
you gotta take that hit on the chin and just learn from it. That's the
yeah,
best thing you can do.
and we'll get into this in a piece a bit later. I have something kind of for that particular bit about the whole social media and posts and stuff like that. About yeah, it's something I came across, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, kind of separating that kind of that personal bias that you're going to have for your project, your baby, um, and being open to receiving that critique. Again, and I'm going to say this flat out, and you can agree or disagree. That's fine. If someone just says, "Hey, this game's ass," and doesn't actually tell you why they feel it's ass, ignore them. Completely disregard that. It's worth nothing. I'm sorry. Those words, those keystrokes are worth shit to me personally. They're worth nothing. Now, if that person would say, "Hey, look, this really is not, it's not living up to what we expected, and here are the reasons why," then that holds water. Because then that person has done the due diligence. They've played the game. They've thought about it instead of just saying, "Oh, this game's ass. This game is shit," whatever. Eh, they've given it some thought, and that's something that's worth a reply, in my opinion, or worth at the very least consideration.
Yeah, and one thing that I've been taught when it comes to taking feedback, like as a game designer, taking feedback from players, is pay more attention to what they identify as the problem as opposed to what a possible suggested solution. I'm not saying ignore their suggested solution altogether, but usually, I say that because a lot of regular players aren't exactly game designers, and I don't mean to say that as to belittle players, but there are many times where they put a solution and it may solve the issue they're talking about, but it may not take into consideration other systems you have in place, and so it may create other problems. Because
Mhm.
obviously, no one is more familiar with the systems of the game than the person who designed it.
Yeah.
And so, like, and so again, this I mean, it's possible that a player may have an actually good suggestion, so keep an eye out for those. But the most important part is to pay attention to what the problem they identify is and use that to kind of generate your own solution from. That's the most important part right there. Because if you try to implement possible solution that you get from, Joe Schmo, then it it may not always go down the best.
Lord Gasumba, welcome, man. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for the lurk. And Moon Girl says, being told that you need to change the focus of your research for a certain article without that person understanding the context of the data. So let me get this straight. Just for clarification, there was an individual who essentially told you to change the focus of your research without understanding the article, like the context of the article or the context of your research, or both. Because either way, they're wrong.
Yeah,
you're talking out your ass at that point.
Yeah, and that's like, I mean, that kind of sounds like just what I was talking about with the suggested solutions, where the person may not fully understand, like they can understand a problem, but understanding a problem and creating a solution to said problem are vastly different things.
Oh yeah,
because creating an answer is a hell of a lot harder than asking a question.
Yep. I mean, and assuming it's the right question. But Greg, what do you think? You've been suspiciously quiet there. I feel I can
about
see
to tell
thinking.
us we have everything completely wrong.
Yeah, he's about to correct. He's about to correct us, youngins.
Wow. Well, I can tell you one thing: don't ever refer to the person that's interviewing you as being old, because that's probably not a good idea.
That's a good point.
For the term wizened, yeah,
seasoned,
a veteran of the industry.
All those things sound like old to me. I don't know, but
it's about perspective. It's about perspective, Greg. It's about perspective, man. Just change your perspective.
I'm not young. I'm eager to learn.
There you go. There you go. It really, I think it really, I've interviewed probably thousands of people over the course of my career. It really comes down to just show them who you are, but be prepared. No matter what you're doing, whether it's whether it's networking with other people, trying to land a particular job somewhere, just be you. Show them who you are. Show them what you know. Don't be arrogant about it. Don't try to stretch it out and make it paint some big rosy picture. You hear all those things. It's good to use keywords for sure, because it shows understanding. It shows that you actually understand the industry, the position, whatever it is that you're applying for. Or possibly you don't understand it, and then, just be upfront about it. Just tell them that.
Yeah.
Here, you know what my qualifications are. You know what my education is. I've never done this job before, but I'm very interested in it. I know people who do it, or whatever the answer is. And most importantly is that I'm teachable. Because that's what they're looking for. Are you teachable? Are you moldable? That's the thing. They want to find people that are going to fit into their culture. The biggest challenge you're going to run into is that culture's kind of, it's a buzzword that gets thrown around that a lot of people just don't really understand what it is. They think about it as just the general atmosphere of this is how we operate, as if that's a good thing. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. I prefer not to talk about culture unless I feel as though my culture is pretty much on par with what I want it to be. So I'm not going to tell you about my culture if my culture is garbage. And unfortunately, you will get that. You will run into these spots where people will talk to you about things that are essentially just not really true. Maybe it's an ideal, This is the idea where we want things to be. But from your stance in the conversation, be upfront. Make sure that you know what you're talking about. Don't try to talk about things that you don't necessarily know anything about. And if you're speculating on something, tell them that. Just be honest about it. Honesty and integrity are huge to anybody that's going to be interviewing you, because if they feel as though you're being honest with them, it shows them that you're a person of integrity. That's what they want. They want somebody that's going to have a high sense of integrity, so that I know I don't have to worry about you. I know that if you tell me something, if you tell me you're going to do something, I know that you're going to do everything within your power to do that. And that's very important. Especially in the case where, you're in this business, there's a lot to do with deadlines. In most businesses, really, there's a lot to do with deadlines. I mean, you got to take care of your customers. You build the expectation of your customer, and then you've got to meet it. Because if you don't meet it, then your reputation becomes shady.
Yeah.
You see that quite a bit. I think, a lot of the problems that arose from like some recent releases of video games, rolling into 2020, and I love talking about Cyberpunk 2077. But that particular game,
I knew he was going to bring that up.
Yeah, I mean,
well, he's not wrong. He's not wrong, though.
How about talk about deadlines? That's a game to bring up because of all the delays.
Well, exactly. I mean, they were honest in the first premiere. The first premiere advertisement that came out for that game in 2013, at the very end of the game, said the release date was when it's ready. And I mean, how much more honest can you be than that? Now, it turns out they weren't actually honest, because it wasn't really ready when they released it. But
yeah,
I mean,
it's a nice ideal to try to stick to, but it's a hard one to try to stick to.
Yeah. Well,
for many reasons. For many reasons. But
yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, like expectations are incredibly important when it comes to deadlines. So I used to deliver pizzas. I used to be a pizza delivery guy, and so let me give you some wisdom from my time there.
Hey, okay.
So you know how it is. Whenever you order a pizza, they quote you a time. They set your expectation for around when the pizza should be there. Here's the thing that I kind of learned. People generally don't care when you say how long it's going to take. People care when it takes longer than than when you say it's going to take. That's when people get angry.
True.
You can tell them it's going to take an hour, but if you come in at 30 minutes, then they're happy. If you tell people it's going to take 20 minutes and then you get there in 30 minutes, then they might be upset. The same thing happened. They got their thing within 30 minutes, but it's important about how their expectations were set and how they were met or not. And that's the thing with setting deadlines for video game releases.
There's an old school concept out there in industry, primarily in manufacturing, but the concept is under promise and over deliver, which is essentially what you're talking about, and that has been a moniker for forever since I was first coming up in business. Under promise and over deliver. The first time that you overpromise on something, and you promise them they're going to get a first class piece, and then you end up delivering a third class performance, your integrity's gone. They're not going to trust you.
It's very.
Every time if you tell them 30 minutes and you show up in 25, they're going to be like, "Wow, this is awesome. You guys are great."
It's only a 5-minute difference.
Yeah, but again, it's about when they get the thing in comparison to the expectation you set.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that's the other thing that I would like to point out there, and which is also very true, is if you're on time, you're late. Always be early.
Very true. Yep. because a lot changes in 15 minutes.
Yeah, and like honestly, the whole thing about the expectations is what went so wrong with the Cyberpunk 2077 disastrous release. In addition to the actual state it released in, because they set so many expectations. Like that, how many times did that game get delayed? It happened more than once, if I recall. Like
think
at
it was like
least twice, maybe
3?
3 times.
I think it was 3 times they've pushed
Yeah.
the date back.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was 3 times, and then there was a 4th announcement, and that's where the big controversy came from, because the announcement was that they were going to push the delivery date back, and then they had that was the big investor crunch thing, because
Yeah.
the money told them, no, you're going to release. And so they had to retract their statement, and they ended up releasing on the date that they had set. Right.
When the game wasn't ready, yeah.
Yeah,
And that is a big piece, though, I think. On the other side of that line, for us as the consumer, the players, here's the thing. A lot of gamers will say, hey, I'll wait however long, I'll wait till it's ready. Very few of them actually mean that.
Yep.
Very few of them actually mean that.
Yeah, there were a lot of people who were very upset when the delays were announced. Hell, there were stories about, and of course this is a vast minority, but some people at CDPR, CD Projekt Red, actually got sent death threats by some very angry and unhinged people when those delays were announced. Like,
no.
like,
and that always, I mean, it does and it doesn't. It surprises me, because we all say it. You'll hear it ad nauseum in forums like Reddit and all these things on whatever game it is. Yeah, man. I'd rather they take however long they need to take for it to be bright and ready and all and everything under the sun. But come out with an official delay. Hey, we got to push the game back. There are certain things that we're trying to fix and certain issues. And yeah, like who the fuck sends death threats over a game?
I mean, some people out there, they're just a
at
little.
That point, you need to step back and evaluate yourself. If you're sending people death threats over a fucking video game or anything really, anything, take a fucking step back and take a look at yourself, because you're wrong. You're fucking wrong.
Yeah.
But in the context of the gaming industry, a lot of people say, yeah, wait till it's ready. I'll wait till it's ready. But as soon as the first delay, oh, fuck you, you're trash. And it's like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
And going back to what you said earlier, Matt, very, very few people understand what goes into creating a game. And I'm not even talking about a AAA game. I'm talking about just a game in general.
Yeah.
There's so much that goes into it. And honestly, I think if folks... It kind of goes back to that argument of retail and customer service. Until you've done the job, you have no fucking idea how much it's going to suck. How much it sucks for people in the job. That's why, for me, I'm one of those games, and I will say it loud and proud, and you can doubt me if you want. I will wait for a game to be ready. I'll wait for my pizza to be ready, even if they said it'll be 20 minutes and it's 30. That's fine, man. Take your time. I ain't in a rush.
Yeah.
And if I'm late to something, it's my fault. I didn't account for the time.
Yeah. And you know what? Just to go back on the pizza bit again, like most of the time when your pizza's late, that's not usually your driver's fault. It's usually they were busy and had to deliver like 3 other pizzas while out on the run for yours.
Yeah.
And like I would say 99% of the time it's not the driver's fault. So, maybe don't stiff them on the tip. I mean, that's just me saying it. It's be like, man, I understand. It's a Saturday night. Shit's busy.
Yeah, there have been a handful of times where I've legitimately gotten upset at something being late in terms of my food. I hate, like, I can count on one hand, because most of the time I ain't in a rush. I'm talking with the people I'm meeting with, or I've accounted for, depending on where I go and what time of day or what time of the week it is, whatever, what have you. I've accounted for the fact that they're swamped.
Yeah.
They're going to be late or whatever the case is. But I think, honestly, if more gamers honestly, yeah, they'll mess with my food. I think if more gamers really stuck by, hey, just do a good job, put it out when it's ready. I think that will go a long way with a lot of developers and studios, because honestly, a lot of these guys and gals, they put a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of their time, a lot of themselves in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Gemma. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you as a waitress and a bartender, yeah, people are not patient. They want their shit. They want it now, and then have the audacity to get mad with you when it's not perfect. It's like, well, do you want it when it's done, or do you want it right now?
For my time in the food industry, and this is gonna sound bad, but I always said that oftentimes customers are not logical creatures.
No, they're not. No, I and I know we're getting off on a little tangent here, but I have a theory. Whenever anybody, or whenever most people walk into a place, whether it be to shop, whether it be to go eat, whatever, if it's a customer to employee interaction, it's a customer service position, there's a little switch in the back of their head that gets stuck on stupid. And they forget how to fucking function. I will stand by that 100%. I will die on that hill.
It's the customer that brings their sandwich back, like, I need you to remake this. It has mayo in it. Like, did you read the menu? It says it has mayo in it. I want a new one.
Yeah, trust me. Anyway,
bring it back a little on topic.
Golden fucking rule: do unto others as they would have. 100%.
Yeah. So to bring it a little back on the topic, I guess bring it back a little to expectations, and because we already talked about the time, but there's also more than just the expectations of time. And this one might be a little less known to more people, but one of the other expectations that CD Projekt Red set with the development of Cyberpunk 2077 is that they proudly proclaimed that there would be no crunch time for their workers.
Yeah.
And as time came, that didn't turn out to be true. And again, that might have to do with what we talked about, where the kind of investors, the people up top, decided to put their foot down, like, no, it has to release at this point. Again, I don't know have all the insider knowledge as to when that crunch began, but honestly, crunch is very common in the games industry. It's unfortunate that it is, but it's there. And if you're going to work in it, you're going to have to expect it. But the fact that they set the expectation that we weren't going to do this to our people, because, I mean, there are horror stories you can find about crunch time.
Yeah, I've known plenty of people to sleep at the office, sleep under their desk, don't like... It can get bad. You got guys who... don't shower, don't sleep, don't eat. Well, we already know you don't eat, Greg. Okay, that is a point of debate in our office. I use air quotes there because we're all remote. But yeah, that's something we got to remind him. Like, hey, have you eaten? It'll be 12 o'clock, and we'll be just finishing up a meeting. Oh man, I gotta go get some food. I didn't eat dinner. It's like, man, come on.
I got shit to do, man. I don't know what you're talking about. Eating is overrated
you'll eat
sometimes.
When you're dead. You'll eat when you're dead.
I could live off the dew of the universe.
Apparently.
Right here.
But yeah.
Right here.
Just lives off of that stuff. But yeah, I mean, and again, expectations. I mean that goes hand in hand with feedback as well. Expectations on both sides. But now that we're discussing things like crunch and kind of how that's a very common thing in the industry, we can segue that into mental health.
I don't know what you're talking about. My mental health is perfect.
Look at him, he's twitching.
What are you talking about? I don't need therapy. You need therapy.
You need therapy. I'm not angry. You're angry.
Just,
yeah.
Just
go ahead,
real quick, in case there's anyone who isn't terribly familiar with crunch, it's because this is a term very common in the games industry. It's essentially a time period, usually near the end of a game's development, where they essentially start kind of rushing to get things finished. And this usually comes with increased work hours for everyone. So, if you're like a 40 hour work week, you're going to be going
80.
overtime. Like it's like there are some cases where some people end up going 60, 80 hours a week. There are definitely some horror stories you can find out there about crunch, because normally working 80 hours a week doesn't go well for a lot of people for an extended amount, for like weeks upon weeks of that. So that
you think people
that's
know
our
that by now.
So that's our segue into kind of like the mental health in the industry, because obviously that majorly impacts the mental health of the workers.
I mean, I think is what there's a very low percentage of individuals that stay in the industry for longer than 10 years. I think the average is about 5 before burnout sets in. Although I've heard instances of burnout setting in before 5 years, but about 5 years is where that really starts to set in, and very few people go to 10 years consecutive years in the industry because of just
when you start talking about that, that's not exclusive to the gaming industry.
No, for sure.
And I mean, because the average tenure for people change jobs every 4 to 6 years on average, and that average is continuously coming down because
I mean, in the gaming industry, I think the average is 2 to 2.5 years. So even there, that's half of the average. Folks jump and ship to another studio for a myriad of reasons.
Money.
Gaming industry is wild, honestly.
Why bounce around that? It's money. That's what it is. It's across every industry. It's money.
Yeah, it's very true. It's money.
Yeah, like there's if you're in a position,
either that or you work for a bunch of pricks and you hate your job. I mean, those are your two options.
Yeah, because naturally, if you're working somewhere, then you see a similar position open elsewhere, and the pay's better. Well, why stay where you're at? Go somewhere that has that better pay, or it may not even be better pay. It could be a better location for you, or other factors that just work better for you.
Economically speaking, that's where and. Not just the gaming industry, Gemma saying tech industry. It is across the board. It is across the board.
Yeah.
That piece is not a phenomena that's isolated, especially to tech, because tenure has become an extremely difficult thing. I mean, our workforce, especially here in the U.S., is by and large a gypsy workforce. Because people are continually changing jobs. Now, you do have some people that at this point, they're referred to as old school, where they, I'm getting my job and it's going to be my career. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to retire from here. I'm going to,
As Jim has said, a lot of people now or the only people that are staying put are the ones who are working towards pensions. Yeah.
Yeah, and how many companies out there actually offer something like that? Except for government jobs.
Yeah.
One key thing here is it's the culture that we have created. Yeah, state jobs. It's the culture that we have created in the workforce today. Because we're always, it comes down to, once again, money. Okay. I've spent most of my life in, operations management. You're continually seeking people. And part of the reason you're continually seeking people is because it's very difficult to convince, let's say, everyone that the objective should be to invest in your people. There are some companies that do a reasonably good job at this, at investing in their people, developing their people, and helping their people to develop and grow. Something that I for my corporate email, something that I put on the bottom of there, it's my tagline is: the only thing worse than hiring someone and training them just for them to leave is hiring someone and not training them and having them stay. And that's it's absolutely truth. If more attention was put into developing the workforce and actually giving people opportunity. See, it doesn't have to be about money, but when you take away all the other benefits that a person could have, they don't have a sense of camaraderie. They don't have a sense of belonging. They don't have a feeling that the company or the entity they work for actually cares about them as an individual. The only thing they have left is money. That's it, because they can control that simply by job hopping. I now have 2 years of experience with this company. That's about what I need. 2 years. I can go market that. That's marketable. I can take that to the company down the road and say, hey, I've been doing this, whatever it happens to be. It doesn't have to be gaming industry. I've been running this, press over here for these guys for the last 2 years. You see how their business is doing. Everything's great. We got good quality, you got good production. I know what I'm doing. How much will you offer me? And that's how you break yourself out of that mold that we've created in industry. The mold we've created in industry revolves around annual reviews and annual raises. And more or less, it just comes down to a cost of living raise. You're not being rewarded for your anything. You're just simply being rewarded for, hey, good job, you're still here.
Yeah.
You lived.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, you're still breathing. Yeah. And it's a shame. And you bring up a really good point, Greg. And I think that also is kind of what goes into the mental health issue of, and all workers from across all industries know this. Like very few jobs will invest in you. Will invest in your continued education. And I'm not talking about paying for school or whatever. I'm just talking about your continued growth within the company, like training you on different things and, helping you grow, especially if it's something you enjoy. So it hurts more when it's something that you enjoy and it's a company that you really want to grow with, and you don't see that. Hey, let's, I see you're interested in this, or I see you want to kind of do this. Let's get you trained on that, or let's start the process of training on that. Maybe you can, work with someone there, or kind of expanding the personnel. Companies it's like a revolving door. Companies are very, very quick to be like, well, we could just hire somebody else.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
One key thing to understand.
Oh yeah, and then you have to jump through a bunch of hoops, as Moon Girl says. Yeah, it's sad.
Opportunity does not have to be represented by promotion.
Oh.
That's a key piece that I think gets lost on people, is that we think about upward mobility and these type of buzzwords, upward mobility and opportunity in a business. What it comes right down to sometimes is people just get bored. You're doing the same job over and over and over, exactly the same thing, and this can happen in most any industry. You just get bored with what you're doing, and what you're really looking at for opportunity is the opportunity to do something different. And if nothing has been invested in you as far as teaching, training, and giving you the availability and the opportunity to develop new skills within the company, then what option do you have? If you want change, you got to go outside to find it because you can't find it inside. So that's
an issue that's just across the board, which is it boggles my mind. It absolutely boggles my mind that you have companies, and granted, I understand companies of different levels have different capabilities. That's fine. But if you have the capability to invest in your people, both invest in their skill set, but also again in their mental health, making sure that, hey, look, they're squared away mentally. That they're being challenged, they're being pushed, and also on the kind of flip side of that you are encouraging them to do that themselves as well. You're encouraging your people to look at ways that they can improve on whatever it is they're doing, or if they're looking at a different avenue within the company, that they're encouraged to do that. It's surprising that companies just whatever, we'll just hire somebody new. It boggles my fucking mind.
On the company side of this, though, and going along with what we're talking about, and that's the careers post-pandemic piece. This isn't all on the company. This is also on the individual. Us.
Oh yeah,
it's on all of us because we've got to seek the opportunity in order for it to be given to us. We cannot. Think about yourself in regard to the things that you do in your life. Are you continuously thinking about what you can do for other people? No. So we've got to be willing to go and say, hey, look, I would like to better myself. I would like to better myself within the company. I'd like to learn new things and give them the opportunity to offer you something, not necessarily a new job, just an opportunity to go train to do something else, get engaged and involved with something else. Two things happen with that. And number one is if you initiate it as an employee, you're showing the employer, hey, you know what? This person has some ambition. They want to grow. They want to continue to develop and grow themselves. That's an opportunity. That's awesome. That's okay. What can I do here? You know what I mean? That's the way you should approach that as an employer. As an employee, you should be looking at it from the standpoint of I'm making myself more valuable and I'm not getting myself locked into this mindset of I just make the widgets. And it's going to show you something because if they come back to you and tell you, just go make your widgets. We'll let you know when an opportunity becomes available. That right there is a red flag. That right there should tell you something about the company that you work for because they're really not interested in you at that point. That's what they just told you. They just told you, piss off, go do your job and shut up. But if they approach it differently and they say, hey, that's awesome. Let's see what we can do. What would you be interested in? Now wait a minute. Hey, these people actually do care. They're interested in me and in helping me to develop myself. And they're not just worried about themselves. Like I said, the only thing worse than hiring somebody, training them, and having them leave is not training them, having them stay. Because that's when you end up with these folks that are, 10 years in their position where they run the widget machine. And
that's all they do.
Right. You're not going to get anything else out of them. Well, you're not running my machine. I'm going home. It doesn't mean that we don't need you. We just don't need that machine. Or whatever it happens to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, agreed. Yeah. But also, Moon Girl has kind of made a bunch of good points. It also makes you more valuable to the company if you get more training. Yeah. Like honestly, like any employee wants to feel like whatever it is they're doing is helping, matters. We don't want to feel like a monkey just pushing buttons or pulling a lever or whatever. We want to feel like what we're doing has some value. And anyone who's realistic and who's kind of at least semi-grounded will know, me making those widgets is not fucking groundbreaking. It's not going to, end world hunger. but it matters to this company, and that I'm okay with that.
Somebody's got to make the widgets.
All right, so yeah, someone's got to make the widgets.
Yeah, Gemma
Exactly.
says, yeah, it's an investment that returns dividends beyond the training for the employee. Yeah, like exactly.
Right.
Like here's like one big thing. Like when the workers in a company are happy, they do better work. People who are miserable typically don't put their all into it.
No,
So
they just show up, clock in, do the job, clock out, go home.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
it.
And so like there are so many games. Like I'm sure everyone has a game in mind where you can tell the people who were working on it had fun making it, because that like excitement and passion usually just bleeds through.
I mean, what the point I had made earlier, or rather the comment I made earlier about talking about a particular point that I was gonna make, this is the perfect time to do that. Baldur's Gate 3. Anyone who's ever played Baldur's Gate 3, or if you've been listening to the news, it's about to release August, the first week of August. I can't remember the exact date off my head, so it's right around the corner. And the amount of love, the amount of attention that game has received from Larian Studios is absolutely unprecedented. So much so, in fact, that there are individuals within the industry, other developers from other studios, who, you know what, I'm gonna call a spade, and I'm fuck it,
Oh,
who are
God, he's
salty,
doing-
who are fucking upset because
Salty.
Larian Studios is doing something out of like just. Let me put it this way: the game, according to Larian Studios, and I think a couple of other individuals who have been keeping up with the game has over almost 200 hours of cinematic cutscenes. That's
what?
more than double the entirety of Game of Thrones.
In cinematic cutscenes, not like just like in playtime.
Yeah, in cinematic cutscenes alone.
Holy, I need to find wherever that's at. That's
And
insane.
I can't remember exactly if it is 200 or if it's 2 million words or 2 million lines of voice acted dialogue. I believe it's voice acted dialogue, or just dialogue in general, even if it's a mix of voice acted or just you have to read in the game. There's, I believe, 17,000 different endings for the game. Now, granted, I will say those 17,000, if the number is correct, probably minute changes here and there, probably not groundbreaking differences. But just and that goes back to exactly what you're saying, Matt. That they love that game. They wanted it to be as good as fucking possible, so they pushed themselves. They pushed themselves, and the negative feedback that has been pushed on. Basically based on the scope of the game by other developers essentially boils down to, well, if this is the new standard, if this becomes seen as the new standard, then that's bad for the industry because not everybody can produce that. And here's what I have to say to that.
Oh no, the bar has been raised. How dare you?
What? Eggs fuck exactly. Here's what I gotta say to those people that have said that within the industry: get fucking good, scrub. Get good. Seriously, why is it such a bad thing that the bar has been raised? Number one, most gamers, most honest to God gamers who really love whatever genre, but who really love quality games, aren't gonna look at Larian Studios and Baldur's Gate 3 and be like, well, if your game isn't that, you're shit. We understand that they had a number of things that most studios may not have: the talent, the personnel, because I believe it was like 400 developers working on the game. Some around
funding.
Yeah, the funding. Most studios aren't going to have that. Most gamers understand that most studios don't have 400 fucking people, or rather just 400 developers, not including artists and other things. Just 400 developers.
Wait, what? What now? You mean it takes money to do this? I'm out.
Right.
I'm out.
Shit. You mean we can't make this shit on hope and dreams? Duct tape and some bubble gum? Come on now. But yeah, like honestly, it was surprising. It was surprising seeing the tweets and the articles written, just saying, "Oh, I think one comment was like, oh, this is kind of rock star nonsense in scope." The fun, yeah, get good. Stop sucking. Put on your big boy pants one leg at a time, like everybody else. And how about you put your nose to the grindstone and
Now,
produce?
now I will say one thing, because the game isn't out yet.
Very
So
true.
I guess we can't say for sure that all the things you're saying now are going to be completely true or in the way that we think it is.
Mhm.
Again, it's about setting expectations, and
Yeah,
usually when a game promises the world, I usually try to
I
expectations like we'll see. So
yeah, I completely
yes.
agree with you. Um, in things that have, because I follow a couple of people who have, well, two individuals, well, three actually, that two YouTube channels that come to mind. Wolf Hearts FPS, I believe, and Force Gaming. Both of those individuals have gotten early access to the entire game. Like
Oh,
the
okay.
yeah,
So
and Fextra Life is another one who I follow, who is again also have gotten um, full access. You guys can go look them up. Matt, if you want to leave links to those particular sites in the chat, feel free. But these individuals have gotten basically full access to the game. Basically, I think it's like content creator release. Most games do this nowadays, where the particular content creators or well-known content creators will get a basically an early released version. Like it's the full game essentially, just before the rest of the public. And they have nothing but glowing reviews to say about the game. I think at the least in terms of playtime, because I remember you mentioned that, it was about 100 hours of playtime, and that's just one playthrough, about 100 hours or more. Um, but the reason why I bring that up, it was just obviously it's a bit of a segue, and we are coming up on time, so that's fine. It was just surprising to see the disparaging remarks from other industry veterans at the what they perceived was a raising of the bar, so to speak, in an unrealistic manner.
yeah, it honestly it kind of reminds me of when Elden Ring came out.
Oh yeah, the Elden
And
Ring was
there
mentioned
was
in
a
this
very
particular article
similar
as well. Yeah,
situation.
yeah.
There's a tweet. I can't remember the name of the person who made this tweet. I believe they were a developer from Ubisoft, I want to say,
I think I know. I think I know the tweet you're talking about. Yeah, go ahead.
and they were kind of shitting on Elden Ring's UX design, which
Hmm.
essentially was it's kind of like the HUD on screen, because From Software generally goes for fairly minimalist HUD design, to where they don't have a plethora of icons on your screen at all times, which is definitely kind of like a Ubisoft standard where they have a lot of information on the screen at all times. And like it's and the tweet, it was just kind of like disparaging for them, that as if they were doing it wrong. But here's the thing, and this is a big thing about game design, is that because it's a subjective medium, there is no golden rule for game design.
Hmm.
Like the Ubisoft formula and the way they do things isn't necessarily wrong. They give the players a lot of information so players can make informed decisions. That's not wrong. Some may not like it because perhaps their screen is very cluttered with a bunch of stuff, and they're not wrong for feeling that way. On the flip side, with Elden Ring and its minimalist UX design, it keeps the screen uncluttered to promote immersion into the world.
Yeah.
Like their UX design was designed with two very different philosophies, and neither are wrong. So it's such a bad
No.
take to disparage another company's
It really is.
design philosophy like that, especially when it was a very well received game, because then it just comes down.
Yeah,
It just
especially when
comes
the
off as
players were like, "This is awesome."
yeah. So it makes for a very
You,
bad
you
look
come off as a
where it
fucking douchebag.
yeah, he came off like he was very salty about Elden Ring's success, and as if like he was calling all the players wrong for enjoying the game, which is not a good look.
That's a super bad
Yeah,
way to put that. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah.
He's like clearly players don't know anything about UX design if they like this. It's like
Oh, that
first of
was
all, first of all,
ugh.
disrespectfully, fuck you heartily. Fuck you. Um,
Yeah,
and that I say that with my whole ass fucking chest. And I'm sorry I'm getting a little hot on the collar here because that is so disrespectful, not only to your player base, but to a fellow colleague or colleagues, I should say, because it's a team of people that do that kind of thing.
yeah.
Especially when the players of that game themselves said, "Hey, yeah, we love it. Give us more of this." How are you going to speak for someone else's game and someone else's player base?
Yeah, because I mean, the thing with game design, it's not a science; it's an art,
No, it's an art, yeah, and
and people
everybody's
have
going to
their
see it differently and like things differently.
yeah, and different people prefer different art styles.
Yeah.
There's if we're gonna talk about art, there is no wrong art. That's a concept that doesn't
Look,
really
man, when you can
exist.
puke on a canvas and call that shit fucking art,
Yeah, exactly. Like it's you like it may not be your cup of tea, but it's someone's cup of tea because art is subjective. It's not like it's not like you're building like say safety equipment and there is a science behind that to make sure it is safe. It's not like you're doing something that scientific, or if you're like baking, baking is essentially a science. It's like there's no one way to do this thing, and so you
so
gotta
Greg, I
you understand.
want to hear your take on this. I
Yeah,
want to hear your take. You've
I'm
been
enough on my
suspiciously
soapbox.
quiet there.
I just
And the audience,
listened.
I want to hear your guys' take on this too. As players, I don't know if anyone here in the audience enjoys Elden Ring or has played Baldur's Gate 3, but what's y'all take on that? Where you've enjoyed something, or you might enjoy a particular thing, and so someone kind of tries to shit on the fact that you like it. Um, that was surprising to me. That was extremely surprising to me, and that was a bit disappointing too, because it's like, first of all, I mean, granted, most gamers can be a little dumb. I say that as a gamer. Some of us can be a little dumb with regards to some shit, some certain things. But if players are having fun on a particular game, you still play for it. All right, I don't know, Gemma. We can't be friends anymore. I don't know why.
How do I ban
Uh-oh.
someone? I gotta do it quick.
we gotta get rid of this one. I don't know about that. There's lines, okay? We have to keep some
Quiet.
standard.
Quietly removes their banhammer.
Yeah, but no. In all seriousness, yeah, Gemma, you play what you play what you enjoy. If you enjoy it, fuck it. And that. I mean, and honestly, I think that's why. That's fair. That's fair. Gemma says she's a skin addict, meaning all the different skins that you could get for your models in Fortnite. And that's fair. Hey, everybody's got their thing. Yeah, Moon Girl says it really just depends on the community that you engage with. She's like because Moon Girl is one of our personal friends, and she's like, she loves us, but she's pretty sure we're not into Stardew Valley and Sims, and she's correct. I don't play.
Oh, hold on. I've played Stardew Valley a good bit, which is an amazing game, by the way.
I've never played it.
That's one of those games where fits into what I was just talking about a little bit ago, where you can tell there was passion and love put into that game. You can feel it in so many parts. Gemma, I have to
Yeah,
be toxic to 10-year-olds as every cool character bear that exists.
right. You can tell that with Stardew Valley, it's buried in the 1980s graphics.
Oh yeah.
Oh
It
yeah.
is.
And
I've seen a couple of videos on Stardew Valley. I've never played it though, so
it's a fun game, and there's a surprising, like, honestly, the thing that surprised me the most were the characters in the town, and there's a surprising amount of depth to those characters. That's where
that's what I've heard and from what I've seen. Yeah.
yeah, that's where I felt that the person who was making the game, because if I recall, I think it was like kind of just one person. Don't quote me on that, but that's where I felt the most that they cared about what they were making and they
Mhm.
wanted to make something special. It's
Yeah.
in those interactions that I felt that.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, like it's first of all, Baldur's Gate 3, highly recommend. Highly recommend it. Larry Studios did a phenomenal job, but uh, I get obviously, we're kind of off the rails here, but that's great. I love the conversation we're having. Um, from a player's perspective, dig into what you enjoy. If you enjoy it, enjoy it. Live it up. From an industry, from the industry side of things, we should never be disparaging our counterparts, or even if they're in a different studio. Um, Making games enough is hard. It's hard enough, I should say. And hearing the feedback from players is tough enough. Where players are coming out and saying shit. Your game shit. It sucks for X, Y reason, or for no reason at all, just to say it. But when you hear from your own, from a compatriot who understands the level of self that you have to give to do this,
It's far
do better.
too
Do better.
it's far too easy to I'm just gonna say rejoice in the troubles of others. And you're right, you shouldn't. That's because sooner or later it's going to be you on the other end of that criticism.
Yeah.
And that's a granted. It's going to happen. So
and the go ahead. Sorry, Greg, didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, go ahead, Ben.
No, I was going to say, like you said, it's going to be you on the end of that criticism, but also we know what it's like. You know what it's like to have that criticism from the players. Like I don't know. I was honestly very, very surprised by that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know about the whole Elden Ring bit. I the only thing that I knew about Elden Ring was that it was a fucking grand slam, and it is. I've played a bit of it. It's a fantastic game. I mean, I'm honestly not surprised. It is From Software. When it comes to Souls games, they have no equal. Period. Like I will die on that hill. They hit it out of the park every time.
No one's really doing what they do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no one is really. That is a good point. That is a good point. But their games are not just good because they're Souls games. They just make good fucking games.
Yeah.
They just make great games.
Yeah.
But so surprising to hear again. It's surprising to hear that. It really, really, really is, because why?
Yeah. I mean,
Just why?
Yeah, I mean, it falls kind of like what we were talking about before with feedback, with good feedback and bad feedback. Like, like if the guy who made that tweet wanted to actually be constructive, he would have been like, "Hey, I believe there are problems with your UX design, and give something better than what he gave, which was essentially just an insult." Saying, I guess, you guys don't know what UX design is. That's the this game is ass that I talked about earlier.
Yeah, it really is.
That's the bad feedback that doesn't accomplishes nothing. It's just an insult.
And it could be just honestly, there's so many different ways could have done that. It could have just been as easy as like, hey, first of all, great work, guys. Here's what I personally would have done.
Yeah, exactly.
and have that
So
conversation, because it's something, honestly, it's something that maybe that developer could have, or the development team, the team at From Software could have seen him, like, he's got some good points. Maybe we might want to consider that in the next game.
yeah, or it's either that or they respond with their reasoning for why the UX design is like that, and
Yeah,
that
and
promotes a
everybody learns
healthy.
something.
Yeah, exactly. That promotes a healthy sharing of information between two different design philosophies. And that would be the fucking goal, baby. Like
Yeah,
just having professionals share their knowledge. Instead, this
yeah,
guy goes out for a petty insult because someone who designed something a different way from him succeeded.
yeah.
It's
But
like, bruh.
not just a knowledge transfer um, between industry professionals, but also in terms of that the optics for, from a gamer's perspective, from a consumer's perspective, we would get to see the other side of that curtain. We would
Oh
get to
yeah.
see the why of, hey, this is why this is that way, or this is why we might, develop a UX or UI this way for this purpose, and that kind of, that, for me, and I can only speak for myself, both as a developer, but also as a consumer of games, that would invest me more in a game. That would bring me closer to that particular game. Like, oh, okay, cool. That's why they did what they did. Great. That's cool. Even if I didn't like the game, or if I wasn't, interested, but that would just bring me closer to that IP and that studio. That is here nor there. Wow. That was a long, long little rabbit hole we went down. Anyway, it was a good one though.
We managed to bring it full circle though, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure. But with that said, let's turn it over. I want to turn it over to the audience for a couple minutes, um, and see what they got to say on these topics. Some of you guys have put out some really good stuff there, Moon Girl and Gemma. Thank you very much for that interaction and kind of your 2 cents on your stance on things from a consumer standpoint. It's really important. And honestly, I think uh, these kind of conversations definitely need to happen more often, and not necessarily from like on a social media platform. I would say, uh, and to be fair, some studios do this kind of thing. I know FF14, Final Fantasy 14, and Yoshi P and his team, they do live letters fairly often, and they'll do them for a couple of hours. And he's actually, in terms of developers and game directors, he's one of the guys I look up to, because he loves games. He loves games. Obviously, he loves Final Fantasy 14, but he just loves video games in general. He's one of the only guys I've seen in a live letter. Um, there was a question asked, and this is a couple of years ago. There was a question asked about basically, hey Yoshi, he was like, hey Yoshi, what do you suggest players of Final Fantasy 14 do? When we've hit the content cap, when we've done all the things, we're at max gear, and these things and that way. He's like, well, he basically said, I mean, when you're done, where you're at where you want to be, take a break, go play something else. There are fantastic games out there. There are tons of games that you can play that are really well made, that you should definitely experience. And that shit, when I heard that, I was like, what? I was like, who's this guy? Because I have never once heard a developer, especially a director, tell someone to go play other games and not play their game. I was like, what? Like, Yoshi P, did you hit your head? Square Enix is about to take you out, man. They're about to replace you. But what you mean tell people go play other games?
I mean,
but yeah, it was surprising. It was surprising to hear.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, I can kind of almost see it, because, like, I mean, if you're gonna do nothing but play a single game, chances are you're gonna get burnt out on it. And now there are some people who can just do
no life
nothing but
dash.
play a single game, and they're fine with that. It's all the power to those people.
Yeah, I'm positive.
You're a trooper, but
Yeah, if you love that one game and that's all you're gonna say to, hey, do you?
yeah,
I'm
usually,
looking at you RuneScape guys who've been playing that game for like the last 20 years.
yeah, but like oftentimes if you burn out on the game, you're probably never gonna go back to it. So
Yeah.
like it's almost like what he suggests is like the healthy break from it. It's like, hey, don't like if you've kind of done what you need to do, go play something else. And it's like if you prevent that burnout point,
Yeah.
they might just come back and maybe
Yeah,
start
and that's
a new
what he says. Is like,
character or
when
do
when the new
whatever.
content, when we do a major update, come back and enjoy it, and then do it just and this is something that's fairly new now, and I think it's starting to come into fruition with a lot of games now. Some old games are starting to pick this up, but some newer games are definitely starting to implement this in their gameplay loops, where they're starting to show respect for the player's time. And I think that was his way of doing that, showing respect for the player's time. Like, hey, if you've done what you wanted to do in our game, then take a break. Go enjoy other games, and then when we have a big update, come back and enjoy it, and but don't force yourself to play. And that was really eye opening, and it's something that I mean, again, this was a couple of years ago. I think like 2-3 years ago where I heard this. It stuck with me since then because it's true. It's a true thing. Like if more studios showed respect for player time, meaning both in the gameplay loop and things like that, quality of life, mechanics within the game, and just overall presentation from the studio.
Yeah, and
that I mean, that would be just a good thing, just a good thing to have.
And that's like part of the reason why in recent years a lot of companies tried making live service games, which are typically the types of games that do quite the opposite. They want to be the only thing you want to play.
Yeah.
You can put a bunch of hours into anything. They want you to come back and play every day, like daily login rewards, all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's a big thing.
And like so many of them ended up failing. Because obviously you can only have so many as a player, you can only have so many games that you're playing at any one time that can act as such a time sink. But also people got tired of such long form content. There's honestly something to be said of something you can sit down with and play for just a little bit. And like honestly, and this is something I've talked to my brother a lot about that he gets burned out on. He hates feeling like he's obligated to come back to a game. And that's what a lot of live services do. They want you to keep coming back. Daily login rewards or all this stuff that you got to keep doing consistently. And it creates this feeling like, well, if you're not constantly playing this game,
you're falling behind.
You're falling behind. You're going to miss out on some stuff. And that creates burnout. That again, that's not respecting your players' times because it's saying, no, you're spending all your time on me. It's like, no,
it's like a clingy girlfriend.
Yeah, like I don't.
Or boyfriend.
Yeah, it's like I want to play a game because it's fun. I don't want to play a game because it's conditioned me to think I'm obligated to come in and play it at least once a day. No. And people kind of start catching on to that. So, like, a lot of live services failed. Like, BioWare tried to make Anthem live service. That didn't go well. Square Enix tried to make Marvel's Avengers, another live service. That didn't go well. There can only be so many live service games in the market because of their nature. And I think they're a little bit fallen out of popularity.
Yeah, they are. There's definitely been a decline, but that could be a topic for another episode.
True.
But with that, I believe that is the end of episode 12. But before we go, Greg, if you want to talk about our stream on Friday.
Sure. So yeah, we do a live game stream every Friday. It is a cyberpunk based stream, basically our own homebrew story. Definitely encourage you to check it out. It's improv RP, so we do everything using theater of the mind. We do have another stream that we are looking at doing. We don't know whether it's going to be an additional stream or not, but we're thinking we're going to add another campaign that we can do some playthroughs with. Outside of that, back to you.
Well, guys, thank you guys again for joining us for episode 12 of the Update Log. You can find us here at the same time, same place next Wednesday. And you can get regular updates and kind of chat with us directly in the Razzmatazz stream. I believe there is a link to our Discord. There it is.
Yep.
It's in the chat. Please come join us on the Discord. You can talk with us, give some feedback there, talk about whatever you want to talk about, really. We're always open to discuss stuff with you guys, whether it be game related or not. But other than that, thank you guys again for joining us tonight. Hope to see you guys on Friday and next Wednesday. And you guys have a good one. See ya.
Yep.
All right. It's going to take a couple seconds here. We're going to raid into another RP channel, Dungeon Scrollers. So please do show them some love. And we will see you Friday. If not, we'll see you next week. Thank you very much for being here. Have a good night.
Okay. See you guys next time.
See ya.